We've all heard it. Happy dynos, stingy dynos. What does that even mean, really? Stick around and find out. On YouTube today, there's tons of channels out there doing dyno content, and for good reason. People like to watch it. But very often, you always hear the person doing the video saying it's a stingy dyno or it's a happy dyno. How can that be? Which one is right? Which one is wrong? So that is something that I have dove down into the rabbit hole about here in the last couple weeks, ever since we had our dyno competition over at the Race Engine Challenge. And hopefully by the end of this video, we're going to have some answers for you, the viewer. The reason why I'm making this video is because this is relevant to something that happened at the Race Engine Challenge a few weeks back. Cory Short brought his 408 cubic inch small block Mopar down from Indianapolis to Charlotte for the contest, and it did extremely well. But there was a situation that arose that allows us to dig into this subject about happy dynos and stingy dynos. So we're going to take a look at some of the footage that was taken at that dyno challenge, and then we will talk about it after the fact. Okay, I got Cory Short here with his Mopar build. How do you feel about this competition coming into it?
Well, so far, it's been a pleasure to be part of it. Greg has been very accommodating. Everybody here has been very friendly. I think it's an awesome opportunity to have some fun with some common engines across different manufacturers and built to a specific spec. And I think it's fun and very interesting to do.
Well, wish you the best of luck. Tell us a little bit basically about this engine. I know that it's an old build.
Yeah.
I see it has the older Indy heads on it.
It does. So it's a 1974 Chrysler LA Series 360 block. It's a 30 thousandths over 4-inch bore, so it's 30 out over standard. It has a 4-inch crank in it, 4-inch stroke, so the cubic inch is 408 and change. So we're claiming 409.
Okay.
It's right at 1101 compression. It's got a bullet solid roller cam in it. The Indy W2 style heads, which is the 360-2 model head that they had, and it has their intake on it. It ran well in testing, and we're hoping for more of the same tonight.
Out there who do not know, at the dyno facility that he uses, which you use that facility all the time, basically the numbers that we're getting ready to show you are 30 horsepower down and 30 foot-pounds less than what he witnessed before he came down here. Is that right?
That's the truth, and that other dyno is traditionally very stingy. It doesn't give any happy numbers at all. So I don't know. I can't explain, you know.
Now let's break down the results and see what we actually come up with. At the Race Engine Challenge dyno, Cory's engine produced 633.5 horsepower, So we will call that 634 at 6,800 RPM, and 546.9 pound-feet of torque, we'll call that 547 at 5,100 RPM. In comparison to the dyno facility that he used in his home state, he came up with 660 horsepower at 6,800 RPM and 576 foot-pounds at 5,100. As you can see, it's a pretty vast difference. The tale of two dynos. Looking at the numbers here, we came up with 26 horsepower difference and 29 pound-feet of torque difference between his dyno facility in his home state versus here in North Carolina. Now, it's important to note that Cory's engine was untouched during this time period. Nothing changed. He ran it exactly the same manner. There are some minor differences though. In his home state, he ran it on 93 octane pump gas versus here, the spec fuel was Sunoco 260 GT. I think it's GTX fuel, which is 98 octane unoxygenated versus no ethanol content in the Sunoco versus the 93 pump gas. Now, it's easy to sit here and say, well, that's not that big of a difference. I do not know because we did not test that. You got to remember that dyno numbers can be like stack tolerances. A little variance here, a little variance there can add up to be a major difference. Just saying. The other difference that we know, he tested on a Superflow SF902, which is kind of the industry standard of dynos, which we will cover more of that here in a minute. And we tested on a Superflow Power Mark. Both of them Superflow, but they are a little bit different. The Power Mark is kind of like the 902's big brother, if you will. Could that make a difference? Possibly. There's a lot of speculation when it comes to this stuff, so I think it's best if I reference Superflow's own website and talk about what's actually on there, because it's really important. Here's where things get really interesting. Looking at the Superflow website, you can see comparing different testing locations, and it warns against this, using different air density correction formulas, and they are many. But the industry standards are SAE J607, which is the older gross horsepower type, and it comes in at 60 degrees Fahrenheit, 29.92 barometer, and 0% humidity. Later, using net horsepower SAE numbers, which is SAE J1349, it utilizes 77 degrees Fahrenheit, 29.23 barometer, and 0% humidity. When looking at these two items, there is about a 4% difference if you're comparing one horsepower rating using one calculation to the other. Number 2 on the list is fluctuating CO levels. Now, this is important that the engine is breathing clean air. If you have an exhaust leak, or if you're not using an exhaust fan system in the dyno cell, that can be a problem. Just something to keep in mind, making sure that the dyno cell is clear of contaminants. Number 3, this is a biggie. Inconsistent engine temperatures. I notice a lot of times on YouTube that not a lot of attention is paid to oil temperature and water temperature. When doing tests for A/B results, it's imperative that these temperatures are in check with each other, or you will get variations. It's that simple. Now let's take a look back at Cory's dyno from his home state. You notice that at the beginning of the run, the coolant temperature was 175 degrees, and by the end of the run, it had reached 190. But the important part here is the oil temperature. It was not recorded during this dyno test. This actually makes me wonder, as I myself have experienced 10 to 15 horsepower difference due to oil temperature alone. Hotter oil makes more power, colder oil makes less power. It's imperative to keep these numbers in check to get accurate results from your data. Moving on to number 4, differing acceleration rates. One thing that comes into play is how fast the dyno allows the engine to rev through the RPM range. The industry standards are 300 RPMs per second, 500 RPMs per second, 600 RPMs per second. But the thing about it is, the faster the rate, the less power will be observed. Meaning that if you dyno at 300 RPMs per second, you will see higher torque and horsepower numbers versus 500 RPMs per second. Make sense?
So we've zeroed out the weight of the calibration arm and pallet. Now we're ready to add our calibrated weights to the pallet. So now that we've got our weight mounted, we're ready to go back to Windyne and enter our calibration value. In this case, we've got 150 pounds of calibrated weight on a 2-foot moment arm. So our calibration value is going to be 300 pound-feet. We added our calibration weights to the cal arm and pallet. Now we're going to come back to Windyne to calibrate the load cell. So press C on our keyboard to bring up the calibration screen and find channel number 2, which is TRQ1. That's your load cell torque. Highlight the channel by clicking on it and then click calibrate. We have 150 pounds of weight on a 2-foot arm, so we're going to use 300 as our calibration value. So enter 300 and click OK. And your engine torque is now reading 300 pound-feet.
So as you can see, dyno testing is very convoluted. Now going back to what just watched with the Superflow deal, they recommend that the dyno be calibrated every 6 months. So there you go. Now this also applies to chassis dynos. When you see standard numbers, what you're actually seeing is SAE J607 versus corrected numbers of the J1349. That's why there's the disparity in numbers. Cory's engine, interesting enough, train tracked the power curves. And it makes me wonder if we're not seeing the difference in the SAE J607 versus 1349 into 4%, because if you do the math on that, that is pretty close to what we're missing. But do I know that? No, I do not. He's going to take that engine back to his home dyno, find out more information, run it again, and then he's going to take it to another dyno that's about an hour or two away that uses a 902 and get data from that. Will we get all 3 different results? We'll just have to watch and find out. I hope you learned something from this video. Just know that when you see engine tests being done on YouTube, such as camshaft test or any kind of test, if your coolant temperature and your oil temperature are not in check, those tests cannot be validated, because the difference that you're thinking might be the camshaft or whatever other component that you're testing might be the variance of your testing parameters, such as your coolant and your oil temperature. Just point that out. So until next time, this is Andy from Unity Motorsports Garage. I will catch you later.